we should finish chapter 8. It's a long chapter. I mean, you got to cut me some slack. First Kings chapter 8. Back page. All right, so while you're getting there, we've covered the first 53 verses. Now we're going to cover the next 53. No, I'm just kidding. There's not 53 left in the chapter, but we're going to get into verse 54. This is the dedication of the temple. Solomon has he's got it built, he's got it furnished, he's got all the people gathered. They're celebrating the Feast of Tabernacles. That's the like the biggest and bloodiest, if you will. There's so much sacrifices that are required for that. It's more than the other feasts. This is one of the 3 required feasts for people, for Jewish men to attend by the law. So now he's finished up that prayer. Remember, we talked about how he had built a scaffold in the presence of the people, and he began to pray. He called out to God. He bowed himself, lifted up his hands, and had prayed to the Lord. And so we looked at those different sections of his prayer and the things that he looked at. Now he's finished the praying portion, and now he's in that benediction portion. He's going to be addressing the people. So that's what we're going to look at. You can go ahead and go to the next slide real quick, and so I'll make more sense of whatever organ that may remind you of. I don't know, a kidney or a liver, but that map in just a moment. So we're going to read verse 54. We'll go ahead and finish through the chapter. That way we can just kind of discuss it as a unit, if you will. And it was so that when Solomon had made an end of praying all this prayer and supplication unto the Lord, he arose from before the altar of the Lord, from kneeling on his knees with his hands spread up to heaven. And he stood and blessed all the congregation of Israel with a loud voice, saying, Blessed be the Lord that hath given rest unto his people Israel, according to all that he promised. There hath not failed one word of his good promise, which he promised by the hand of Moses his servant. The Lord our God be with us, as he was with our fathers. Let him not leave us nor forsake us, that he may incline our hearts unto him, to walk in all his ways, and to keep his commandments and his statutes and his judgments, which he commanded our fathers. And let these my words, wherewith I have made supplication before the Lord, be nigh unto the Lord our God day and night, that he maintain the cause of his servant and the cause of his people Israel at all times, as the matter shall require, that all the people of the earth may know that the Lord is God, and that there is none else. Let your heart therefore be perfect with the Lord our God, to walk in his statutes and to keep his commandments as at this day. And the king and all Israel with him offered sacrifice before the Lord. And Solomon offered a sacrifice of peace offerings, which he offered unto the Lord 22,000 oxen and 120,000 sheep. So the king and all the children of Israel dedicated the house of the Lord. The same day did the king hallow the middle of the court that was before the house of the Lord, for there he offered burnt offerings and meat offerings and the fat of the peace offerings, because the brazen altar that was before the Lord was too little to receive the burnt offerings and meat offerings and the fat of the peace offerings. And at that time Solomon held a feast, and all Israel with him, a great congregation, from the entering in of Hamath unto the river of Egypt, before the Lord our God 7 days and 7 days, even 14 days. And on the 8th day he sent the people away, and they blessed the king, and went into their tents joyful and glad of heart, for all the goodness that the Lord had done for David his servant, and for Israel his people. Okay, so the map. That lone dot in the yellow, that's a map up top. And this, roughly around this red line here, is what is likely being referred to as the river Egypt. That's not a reference to the Nile. It's most likely a reference to, that is a wadi. You can roll to the next slide. Wadi, I don't know. That's why I always call it a wadi. but it's likely the Wadi El Arish, but that would serve as a southern border, if you will. So that's where all the people came from. So that kind of gives us, if you want to go back to that previous slide of the map, yeah. So, all that land, all those people, all those tribes gathered together in the one spot of Jerusalem. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of things going on. For me, it helps to visualize. Whenever I hear from this place to this place, what do I need to think about? Now, that yellow area, if you're wondering about the color codes, I don't, off the top of my head, I don't remember exactly all the orange and the difference between the orange and the pink, but the yellow is basically area that was effectively under Solomon's economic control. Okay, so he had expanded out, if you will. So David went further out than Saul, and then Solomon got further out than David, if you will. So you can go back now. You can go forward to the next slide. There we go. So people from all over the kingdom had come to this celebration, as we just recorded. You got a lot of people participating in this and there for the dedication. And that sorry, I put in a little bit extra information about the Wadi. That's basically a riverbed that really maybe only gets water in it when it rains. It's not constantly full. But Solomon is got all these people that he's addressing. So he's offered this dedication prayer, and he's now turned and faced them. And realistically, he's got two focuses that he wants to bring up. One, that God would maintain the people through him, inclining the people's hearts toward him so that they would keep his word. I thought that was amazing to me. Solomon said, God, incline our hearts toward God. How many times do we pray that? Hey, God, you're in control of my heart. You lean it towards you so that I follow your word. I want to give you that kind of rule and reign over my life so that you're in control of leaning this desire. You're in control of leaning this heart the way that it needs to go. That's a word that means outstretching, and it's being used in the Hebrew in a hifil, which can have an intensification, if you will. So he's got this desire that God would watch out the people, but it's going to come through obedience and not just action, not just checking the boxes of the Mosaic Law, but having hearts that are inclined to God, having hearts going towards God, letting God be the captain of their lives, if you will. Does that make sense? That's what he wants. He didn't say, you know what, now that we're here, I built this temple and I did all these things. I have all these animals ready to slaughter. We're going to feast. It's going to be great. And I want all of you guys to remember this day so that you never forget who takes care of you. Big Solomon. It's guy. Don't forget the guy who's good to you, okay? He didn't do that. That's not what he was praying about. That's not what he was discussing with the people. So he desired that the people would allow God to incline their hearts towards him. And also, he wants the rest of the world to know that there's only one God. He looks at everything in front of him and he says, I hope that, he tells all the people, I hope that the Lord uses this. Okay, we're just going to put it in Gabe's summarization. God would use this to let the rest of this world know, who worships all these false gods, who has all these pagan images, who has all these idols, these other people of other lands, that they would know there's only one true God. And it's the God that we serve, the God that is in charge of our hearts. I thought that was pretty powerful. That even then, there is a desire in this Davidic kingship for the outsiders to know the truth. Because Jesus is going to come along one day, right? See where we're going? Jesus, who's of that Davidic line, is going to come along one day, and he's going to say, guess what, guys? I've got sheep. They're out there. They're not part of my fold right now, but they're going to be. Those outsiders, I'm going to bring them in. That's encouraging to me that God has always been pointing towards this reality that he desires all people to know him. This isn't an elitist club. This isn't a specialist group, if you will. Anybody, everybody that wants to come to the Lord can come to the Lord. And he's open. That also challenges me. Because how do I, if I'm going to have my heart inclined towards God, this God that wants anybody and everybody, that wants the gospel preached and shared and proclaimed, if I'm going to have my heart inclined by him, toward him, then my heart ought to be inclined towards those people too. Right? They were allowing for this. They were hoping, hey, you know what? We want the outsiders to come in. We want them to ask, what's all this about? That's what it's supposed to be. You can go on to the next slide. Oh, so they have this massive dedication, and in which the altar isn't big enough. I mean, you think about this. That was a big altar, and they've got so many animals that they're going to sacrifice. 22,000 ox, 120,000 sheep. It can't handle it all. And so what Solomon does is he gets the priest to consecrate an area of the temple court. And he says, we're going to have to start taking care of sacrifices here, boys. Now this is a big to-do. Because don't get me wrong, I could be wrong in this, so don't, but if I'm understanding this correctly, this is for the consecration. This is for the dedication, I should say. Sorry, this is for the dedication. This isn't the other animals required for the feast, the celebration of tabernacle, or the Feast of Tabernacles. So this is dedication stuff. They've got all this going on. So we have this massive amount of sacrifice, and you have all this worship that's happening. They've consecrated the area so that they can burn the offerings before the Lord. And what started out as the requirement by the law as a 7-day celebration turns into a 2-week celebration. All this is happening. Right? They dedicate the temple. They're observing the Feast of Tabernacles, and everybody just keeps on. But we get tired if church goes past 2 hours. I came here at 10. I need to be out at 12. I done got up early on a day off and got kids ready and got this done and got this done and got this done. I've still got a crock pot that's full of beans or full of whatevers, and I need to get home and turn it off because I left it on high, and I need to get my comfy jammies on because it is my day to be in comfy jammies, and I like to sit on my couch with my remote in my hand and chill out this afternoon, and then if I feel like it, I'll go back this evening. But if they go past an hour and a half tonight, I'm going to be tired of it. You see what I'm getting at? Solomon's over here saying, man, I want everybody to know the Lord. I want everybody to know this one true God. We got all these sacrifices ready. It's so much, boys. I've got everything ready. We dedicated the temple. We got this hollowed out place here, or hallowed out, if you will, hallowed out place that we're going to offer up all these sacrifices. 7-day feast turns into 14-day feast. The 8th-day reference that we read in that verse, that might seem, I think that's likely a point to the 8th day after the second 7 days. Does that make sense? They did it for 7 days. Because in the Hebrew, it's 7 days and then 7 days. That's how it's kind of listed. Then the 8th day. So it would be on the 15th day is how we would understand it. These people celebrated. Celebrated. Man, God's doing something. presumably so. It would have either been through people's free will offerings, or maybe the king through his provision that had been given to him. If he dedicated, I'd have to cross it with the Second Chronicles. I don't remember if it tells there if they came or not. That I can't recall off the top of my head. But yeah, it's a whole lot. It's a whole lot of animals for sacrificing. Was it a 24-hour process? That I wouldn't think, but I mean, it doesn't. I mean, but over the course of that period, they were dead. You know, I don't know how many priests he and Levites he brought in for all this. You know, it would have been more than, you didn't have just one guy over here slaughtering and cooking and slaughtering and cooking. You know, he would have had quite a bit of help too. So we don't get all those details as far as I know. But all this is going on. These people worship for 15 days, or essentially the 15th day is when they get dismissed. You got a lot of people. You got a lot going on. It kind of blew me away. I'm like, what if my heart was inclined towards God? Right? If I let God incline my heart towards Him, well, maybe, just maybe, that would result in a 2-week revival. I preached one time at Dixon Avenue. Y'all heard Dixon Avenue Baptist Church? Okay, so I don't, honestly, their pastor, I remember the guy as far as face, but his name has left me. But I went and I happened to tell Pat, this was years ago, I said, Pat, he's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm going to go preach at Dixon Avenue. He said, oh, yeah, so-and-so's pastor. I said, yeah, that's the guy that called and asked me. He said, okay. He said, me and him preached a revival at Long Ridge in Coker Creek. He said, it was supposed to be a week long, and it went for 2. I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, we had people saved every night. Just doom. Whoever's the pastor there now was the guy then, or was the guy who preached that revival? Who? Don? Alan Watson. Alan Watson. Yeah, he's been there for a while. And so then I go to that Dixie, I go to the church, Dixon Avenue, and he says, hey, your papa's Doug. I said, yes, sir. He said, me and him preached a revival, man. It was supposed to go a week. It went 2 up there at Long Ridge and Coker Creek. These guys were still feasting on that. They were both excited about it. They both were smiling, talking about it. If we want that kind of worship, if we want that kind of pouring out, if you will, then it's going to take us allowing God to incline our hearts towards Him. God, you get in control of all this. You bend my heart the way that it needs to go. Because that's what outstretched, bent over. You bend my heart the way it needs to go. You're in charge. And whatever you do, I'm good with it. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the services that your granddaughter was in Uganda lasted for a very long time.
We had a 3-week revival here with James Atkins.
See? And so those kinds of things, these kinds of events where revivals break out and man, people's getting saved and God's working and pouring out that Spirit, man, it's a wonderful thing. And I know we look at it sometimes, we back like, man, well, what's it going to take? What's it going to take? Look, I don't think I can make revival happen. You don't force revival. That's up to God. All right? You can schedule it all you want, but it's up to God if He pours it out. Okay? So keep that in mind. Okay? Just because we schedule one, He isn't required to make it. Okay? One that goes like that. But I do believe that if we really do want to be in a position to receive that kind of revival, then we need to have our hearts inclined towards that kind of revival. Does that make sense? Yeah. It's like the farmer plowing the field, getting ready for the rain, right? You don't plow after it rains. You plow in preparation for the rain. And it may take days, weeks, months, or even years sometimes. You know, of being consistently seeking and inclining towards God and having a heart bent towards God, and then he pours it out. And so, just fascinating to me, the way that it breaks out and people are celebrating. It'd be awesome. And we see these outbreaks. We've, in the past year or two, we've seen some of these, especially in college campuses, where you get that spontaneous revival and kids, these young adults coming to Christ and getting saved, and the Spirit's moving, and they're just like, man, this is awesome. I don't know. And then they're going, where are you from? I'm like, well, I'm like 5 states over, but I heard about this awesome thing going on, and so I couldn't help it. Me and my buddies got in the car and we drove. What's happened to you? Well, I've actually announced a call in the ministry. What's happened to you? Well, I got saved, and then all this stuff's going on. So we still serve an amazing God. It's the same God. Well, they were, depending upon the sacrifice they would receive, they would partake. There's certain aspects of certain sacrifices. Like a whole burnt offering is wholly burnt. It's burnt. Everything's burnt to God, but not like a fellowship or a peace offering would be. There were portions that could be shared with the person who sacrifices along with the priest. So the priest receives some, and then there's some that's reserved for just priests. There's some, so it just depends upon the sacrifice. But it was. And if I remember correctly, there's, I'll hold on. I'll double check myself before I go down that rabbit hole. So, but yes, it was a massive time of sacrifice, and so all that was being poured out. And the reason I want to talk about that time a little bit is because the people went home and they didn't go home. They're not pictured as going home like this. I've got a really long drive. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to take me 5 days to get to Hamath. I can't wait to get back to the river Egypt. It's going to take me forever to get there now. They were happy. They were praising the Lord. They were glorifying God for the work that he had done, for how he had kept his word to the King David, and how he's continuing to work in the people's lives. They were glad. How many times we had a long church service? Okay, just a long church service. How many? I don't know. I know that I'm the cause of many of them. Okay, I get it. So you don't have to tell me. You can just keep it reserved what I'm about to ask. But I wonder how many people got in our cars and said, whew, he was long-winded today, wasn't he? He went way too long. Yeah. He's not here and he don't have Facebook. My dad does this. Y'all tell him I said that. I'll tell him too. He's like that everywhere, all right? You go past 20, if you go 21 minutes, I don't know what it means. I also don't look at him when I preach. So 20 years of watching him, I figured out not to watch him. Yeah. Anyway. But how many times we do, and I'm just as guilty as anybody else. Like, man, that's a long one. Oh, boy, I'm hungry. My mind and my heart's inclined towards something else. But I'm going to be honest, there's a lot of times where you go into those services and you just got this, you're worshiping with your brothers and sisters in Christ, and it's in spirit and truth. And it doesn't matter. You just lose track of time. You don't know if you were there for an hour or two. You don't, it doesn't matter. Everything's just going. That kind of worship's possible. I really believe it. And I think it's possible on a more regular basis than what we see it. And you never know what's going to happen. Yeah. Open your books to Genesis 1. By the time we get to Exodus, man, he gone. I understand. For every Sunday now, I need to start going. Yeah, I think that's why I think that in general we've got to have our hearts inclined. You gotta have a heart inclined to God. And what I found fascinating is the fact that Solomon said, God, incline our hearts. You do it. So many times people are like, how do I do this? And we try to make it all about us. How do I make me do this thing? Stop trying to make you do this thing and surrender it to God and let Him make you do this thing. Does that make sense? Let Him bend you. Let Him mold you. Let Him shape you. Let Him bend. Let Him do that. You give up the will, He makes the way. I'm going to give up my will, and I'm going to follow your will, right? I mean, ultimately, we ain't there, but we'll get there in Ephesians. The deacons have heard it twice already. They heard it in Sunday school time, and they heard it in men's conference. But that's what Paul ends up in another prayer for the saints. That's what he prays, basically. I want you guys to let go and let Jesus rule over every bit of you. Let Him reign. Let Him take seat. I think that's what Solomon's getting at. It's always been about giving it to God. And so, yeah, there's got to be a hunger. There's got to be a thirst. There's got to be a heart that's towards God, or it just dwindles. But the people, they had a wonderful time. They had a great experience, worshiping, celebrating, and I think that's maybe something that we lose sight of in modern church services is so much of what we do now. We lose the aspect of celebrating, rejoicing in God and what He's done. When we hear the truth of the gospel, it ought to move our hearts to rejoice in what the Lord has done in our life, in the lives of the people we love, in the lives of our children or grandchildren or friends or coworkers. And it's like, oh, yes, that's what that point makes sense. You know what? And in our heads, oh, yes, that scripture would fit because I was talking to so-and-so 2 days ago. And we were talking about this kind of thing. I'm going to note that down real quick. And yeah, man, God, you're good. I was needing that scripture. You know what I mean? The celebratory aspect of it. The enjoyment aspect. Do we enjoy what we're doing? Or do we not enjoy what we're doing? That's why people can sit and watch ball games for 4 hours. 6 hours, 8 hours. They can spend all day Saturday watching the plethora of teams throw air around a field. And I'm not trying to knock on anybody that likes to watch football. Whatever you like, watch football. That's all right. But that's what we ask. How can we? The preacher thing is saying, how can we do that? But we can't come to church, right? Well, they got a lot more fun doing that than they got fun having church. Their hearts are rejoicing in that instead of Jesus. I think that's the sum of it. And I'm not trying to say that church is supposed to be some three-ring circus that makes everybody that's for people's entertainment. I'm saying that we've lost the aspect of rejoicing in the Lord. And our hearts enjoying the work of Christ and celebrating with our brothers and sisters when we worship. And it's like, oh. We'll roll to the next slide. Okay, cool, good. That was the last slide there. All right. See, we got through chapter 8. That worked. I'm glad. All right, so we got a few minutes. We took so long, I better get into 9. All right, verse 1 in chapter 9. And it came to pass, when Solomon had finished the building of the house of the Lord and the king's house, and all Solomon's desire which he was pleased to do, the Lord appeared to Solomon the second time, as he had appeared unto him at Gibeon. All right, so God shows back up. And the Lord said unto him, I have heard thy prayer and thy supplication that thou hast made before me. I have hallowed this house which thou hast built to put my name there forever, and mine eyes and mine heart shall be there perpetually. And if thou wilt walk before me as David thy father walked, in integrity of heart and uprightness, to do according to all that I have commanded thee, and wilt keep my statutes and my judgments, then I will establish the throne of thy kingdom upon Israel forever, as I promised to David thy father, saying, There shall not fail thee a man upon the throne of Israel. But if you shall at all turn from following me, you or your children, and will not keep my commandments and my statutes which I have set before you, but go and serve other gods and worship them, then will I cut off Israel out of the land which I have given them, and this house which I have hallowed for my name, what will I cast out of my sight? And Israel shall be a proverb and a byword among all people. And at this house which is high, every one that passeth by it shall be shall be astonished, and shall hiss, and they shall say, Why hath the Lord done thus unto this land and to this house? And they shall answer, Because they forsook the Lord their God, who brought forth their fathers out of the land of Egypt, and have taken hold upon other gods, and have worshipped them and served them. Therefore hath the Lord brought upon them all this evil. I don't know that we'll cover all the meat in that, but first thing to notice is God hears Solomon's prayer. Solomon offers up a beautiful prayer of dedication, and God responds. After it's said and done, God appears to Solomon again. That first appearance you can go back and see in chapter 3, where God, in a vision of the night, like in a dream, God appeared to Solomon and offered him, asked him, what do you want? And that's when Solomon said, give me a hearing heart, because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a child. I don't know how to go out or come in. And he's not talking about his immaturity or inability. He's talking about with regard to his age as a child, but in his capacity to lead. And so, the Lord grants him that wisdom and promises him success. And so now the Lord's appeared and said, listen, I heard your prayer. I heard your supplication. And I'm going to keep an eye on the temple. I will have my eye on this place. I've set my name there. I'll have my heart directed there. I'll do like you asked. And so that's